Hello there, yes, that was a bit. I don't do that. I don't ever brush my hair. I'm not that vain. God. As you can tell, I did get a little sunburnt, but you know what? We're going to pull through. So today we are going to be talking about the beauty myth. What stimulated this idea in my brain was I actually read the book called The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf. It was written in the 1990s, I think. Was it? Shall we check? Yes, it was published in exactly 1990. I am very accurate in my times and dates. Although it was written quite a while ago, it is still so relevant to today in today's society. First of all, what is the beauty myth? I'm so glad you asked. When women started properly working, when they were allowed to work, they kind of left behind their passive domestic lifestyle, and more women were seen in the workplace and in powerful positions, being financially stable without a man. When this all started happening, I think roughly around the 1940s, in the US, the UK, and other countries, the capitalist patriarchy we live in realized that they couldn't really sell their products in the same way they had been doing while women were working in the kitchen. All these things that applied to women who were house workers didn't necessarily apply to women who were in a job working a 9 to 5. A lot of people realized they needed to change their marketing tactic. That is when we can kind of start noticing a shift in media. More emphasis than ever before started being placed on physical appearance. Now, this is also believed to have come about because women could no longer be controlled at home, and because they couldn't be forced to stay at home anymore and they weren't controlled physically, society as a whole decided to adapt and instead try and control women psychologically, and that is with appearance. So they would promote skin creams and have really attractive models in very fancy clothing, and if you didn't dress like this, if you didn't look like this, if you didn't look this young and beautiful and slim, you were not worthy of anyone's time. This is far more psychologically damaging than I think any tactic put into place beforehand. So thus arose this impossible generic beauty standard that we are held to still and held accountable to today. These images of beauty are not just used against women now, they're used against people in general. This is done through shaming people based on their physical appearance. This will undermine someone's self-esteem, obviously. If someone continually bashes you and your physical appearance, you are going to have a much lower self-esteem than before. It also makes you vulnerable to outside approval and validation. You will feel more obliged to appease others and make them feel comfortable. I think this tactic is very subtle, very good at keeping people submissive. You're not going to want to rage against the machine or cause a whole riot or upheaval of society when you have so much self-doubt and are so focused on yourself and your flaws. You don't have time for anything else, let alone starting a revolution. Where this has kind of led us is beauty has become a currency. Your face is your fortune. It's kind of comparable to wealth. People used to desire wealth because wealth meant you could buy your time. You had more time for leisure, more time to do what you wanted to do. You didn't have to work as much. That was the purpose or goal for wanting to be wealthy. And the same for beauty. People wanted to look attractive, to attract a mate. They wanted intimacy, love, relationships. Now it's kind of turned on its head and people just want wealth for wealth's sake and beauty for beauty's sake. There's no rhythm or rhyme behind it, just this desperate desire to be it. I think a lot of people, if they did get what they wanted, they would be completely stunned. They wouldn't know what to do with it because there was no goal behind it. Because women seemed more valued for their beauty and men seemed more valued for their wealth, this put pressure on both parties to live up to this really high standard, to be really wealthy and really beautiful. And if you weren't, then you weren't worth anything. I think this is kind of when like pretty privilege developed, which is definitely a thing. If you don't know what pretty privilege is, it's a person who is above average looking or subjectively attractive to someone will be treated better or with more respect than someone who is supposedly below average or average looking. I think we can definitely agree that that is a real thing, and that directly correlates with beauty becoming a currency. So we can see that certain men will only respect women who they are attracted to, which is absolutely disgusting, and vice versa. Women may only respect men or be nice to men who they find attractive, and anyone else they treat like dirt. This doesn't just affect woman. Although Naomi will primarily focuses on women and their plight, I think we can agree that today this affects everyone. Men are constantly facing this pressure to look a certain way, to follow through with that gym dude look you see so many men posting on Instagram with their muscles and their shirts off. There's this whole hype that they have to live up to. The strong jawlines, high cheekbones, like this chiseled, sculpted by Michelangelo kind of look. A lot of people downplay the effects this has on young men. If you just look at TikTok, you will see like 50 shirtless boys with six packs and really high cheekbones and dimples. You would assume from all of that that's just what a man is meant to look like. That's the beauty standard expected of men these days. Considering that's some of the only representation for young boys out there, I don't think that's affecting their self-esteem very well. I mean, I can attest to this being true. My brother, since he was in grade 2, since he was like 8, has been incredibly self-conscious about his body. He used to consider himself overweight, he was not, and he would put himself on diets from the age of 10. Now he's 17, he felt like he was too skinny. A lot of his friends were really bulky and had muscle, and he considered himself scrawny, in his words. He put himself through a lot to build a lot of muscle really fast. He just was never satisfied with his appearance. It really did affect him. He was really self-conscious. He didn't want to be seen without a shirt on because he felt he was too skinny. In the last year, he works out almost every single day and has been working on improving his body just because society told him that he didn't look how he was meant to. This whole beauty pressure has led to the thought process, almost like bargaining. Like, if I do this, I will be beautiful. If I get my lips done, I'll finally be beautiful. If I get liposuction, I will be beautiful. If I starve myself and don't eat for 5 days, I will be beautiful. This isn't how it works. People are never satisfied with their appearance, and they will go to greater and greater lengths because they somehow find more and more flaws within themselves, to the point where it can get incredibly unhealthy and be detrimental to your physical and psychological well-being. Some examples of what this beauty pressure could lead to are exercise fixations, food fixations, body dysmorphia. Thanks to this, diet, skincare and cosmetic industries are absolutely thriving. They are creating this hyperdrive, this really passionate need to improve your physical appearance. They play on these fears of aging and embellish and exacerbate them to the point where you feel as if, how could you even show your face on the street if you have an eye wrinkle? Like, you will be stoned. A lot of people even use skin lightening creams and bleach to fit this Western ideal of what makes someone beautiful. It's just this constant, continual pressure to conform. You may or may not have noticed this. It has improved in the last, I would say, 10 years, but most female TV anchors are under the age of 40, and their partner anchor is a man who is normally much older than her. It's completely bizarre that men's careers can continue when they get older, and they're considered esteemed and, you know, mature and obviously quite wise if they're old, and women just kind of fade out of existence and are hidden from society as soon as they hit the 40 mark. They're just phased out at a certain age because they're no longer deemed attractive. They've expired, they're past their sell-by date. No one will want to see that on their TV. That's the message that is being driven across.
Says she was devastated when at age 45 she was pushed out, and she thoroughly applauds, like so many other women across the city, the 5 anchor reporters who are suing New York One for alleged age and gender discrimination.
On a subconscious level, that makes women feel that once they're old, they are worthless, they're nothing. You should do everything in your power to avoid aging, and when you do age, be considerate and see yourself out. Go hide in a mountain, never show your face, and become an old hag. That's what it seems to that's the message that's being driven across, and you see that in all the anti-aging skin ads on TV, in the magazines. This like smiling woman with graying hair with not a single wrinkle on her face and talking about aging gracefully, retaining your youth. All of that just continually links women's worth to their physical appearance, and specifically how youthful their physical appearance is. I'm sorry about the sunlight like streaming in and casting my face in slight shadow. There's not much I can do about it. Another industry doing quite well is beauty pornography, and this is the first time that sexuality was intrinsically linked with physical perfection. So if you're beautiful, men will want to have sex with you. If you're not attractive, you are not a sexual being. No one will want to have sex with you. That is the message that is being driven across, and we see that in all forms of ads and media, not just pornography. What I do like now is we have a lot more awareness around that. There are certain types of pornography and certain genres that do have a more realistic approach to what sexuality actually is, but that's few and far between. It's definitely very marginalized. In summary, there's just a massive importance placed on looks. I mean, from my personal experience, so I'm furloughed currently, but normally I work as a charity fundraiser. So what I do is I will stand on a street, basically, and talk to strangers all day and try and convince them to donate to my homeless charity. I would very often be having a conversation with a man, and I will give him my whole spiel. I will take the time to interact with him, get to know him, get to know his name, ask him a couple questions about what he's doing there, give him my whole spiel about what I'm doing there, tell him all about the charity. I'll spend a good 5 to 10 minutes talking to him about this. I am friendly, professional, got all the facts going. I knew my stuff because I worked there quite a while. At the end, I'll round it up and be like, great, could we get you signed up today? Would you want to be a part of this amazing cause? This would normally happen about 5 to 6 times a week. This person would say, oh no, don't worry, I'll look at it online, which, okay, fair enough, cool. And then they'll say something along the lines of, but could I get your number so we can, you know, keep in contact, and I can ask you a bit more about the charity. That's if they're trying to be smooth, or just straight up, look, I don't care about the charity. I just stopped for you. Could I get your number? I guess in their small little brains, they think that's a compliment. I don't think they understand that I'm working, that it is completely unprofessional to ask someone for their number while they are doing their job, especially when I'm in a situation where I have to talk to you. You're taking advantage of that, and the fact that I have to be nice and respectful to you because I don't want to lose my job. You are taking advantage of a situation that I have no control over, first of all, and it is all based on physical appearance. Instead of respecting me as a person, you seem to think that because you find me attractive, you can breach my boundary of professionalism and attempt to ask for something more. And when I told people about this, a lot of them would say, well, you know, I'll just take it as a compliment. It just means you're very pretty. And I didn't take it as a compliment. I found it very invasive and offensive. And I think it's also because I've spent my time, wasted my time on you when I could have actually gotten a donation from someone who truly cared about the cause. But I spent my time expressing myself to you, and at the end all you got out of it was that you found me attractive. Not that you thought I was well spoken or intelligent or anything like that. You still were somehow focused on my physical appearance, and that was all that mattered. That's very dehumanizing, and it makes me feel like I'm not being taken seriously as a professional, as a worker, as someone who is doing something for a cause. And I don't think I'd be as offended or upset about this if I knew that it didn't just happen to me and my female co-workers. However, my male counterparts were never treated like this. It just completely reflected to me how much importance was placed on my physical appearance, and what was actually inside, what was in the brain, was not as important as what I looked like.
Hi there, Future Timer here. I'd also like to add that as someone who is incredibly insecure about their physical appearance, it's very disheartening to hear that this thing that I have a huge insecurity about is what people care about the most, and things that I pride myself in are not considered as important.
Although we can argue that all this pressure to look a certain way isn't having an effect on our youth, 30% of women in sororities in the US have bulimia. I don't think these women would be in this situation or feel so awfully about themselves that they have to harm themselves to change their appearance if we didn't have all this pressure.
So I never actually mentioned this in the video, but while I was editing, I came across the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, 10 countries with the most beautiful soldiers in the world. I'm mind blown, to be honest. These women are giving their lives and sacrificing so much to fight for their country, and all people can focus on is how attractive they look in their uniforms. I think that really plays off my last point about how so often women aren't taken seriously in certain positions. The fact that this is considered even a thing. It has 9.4 million views. Why is this something that people care about? Why is this a huge thing when these women are fighting for their countries? I don't get it.
A trend I've noticed is that as soon as someone becomes popular, or especially a woman, as soon as a girl or a woman becomes very popular or powerful or famous, she is immediately bashed for her appearance. For example, on TikTok, Charli D'Amelio, she's 16. Now that she has a ton of followers and is gaining traction, she is being completely torn down, told she's too skinny, told that she's too fat and she's gaining weight. She is 16. Why is it okay for the media and for people to be commenting on her body in such a way as if she were a piece of meat? She's a human being with feelings and emotions and intelligence if she's managed to rise that far and make a career out of TikTok. I can't fathom why it's necessary to comment on people's physical appearance. That just completely invalidates any argument you have. What do you gain from that except tearing someone else down and attempting to make you feel better about yourself? I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. I'm going to rage against the machine very quickly. I kind of mentally created an opposing argument to all of this, so here we go. Are you ready? Yes. Got your seatbelts on, got your sunglasses on, because boy, we're being blinded here. So for some reason, media outlets and social media have just accepted this one form of very generic beauty as the only beauty that there is and the only acceptable way to look. And I don't know who decided on that. Like, I missed that survey, I'm sorry. When we boil down to the facts, what is deemed attractive or beautiful is very time relative. Back in the 1800s, being chubby or overweight or fleshy and very pale was considered the epitome of a goddess. That's what you wanted to look like. That's what you wanted to emulate. That was the style back then. And if you looked like that, you were considered attractive. In addition to that, different cultures place different emphasis on what makes someone beautiful. This Western ideal is not what the entire world considers beautiful. It's also not just natural that women were expected to be like this, because in Nigeria, there is a tribe called the Wadabis. Could be mispronouncing that. I'm so sorry if I am. But basically, women hold economic power there. Men are the ones who wear makeup and dress up. They have beauty contests and men compete in this beauty contest, and women are the judges and discern who is considered the most beautiful in that context. In addition to all of this, anthropologists have proven that beauty is not necessary for survival. Therefore, all these arguments referring to history and biology or gender just don't hold any water. This obsession with this specific beauty is not justifiable at all. The thing is, I'm not bashing things like makeup. Makeup and skincare routines and exercise is absolutely fine when it's fun and you're enjoying it and you're doing it for you. It's not fun anymore when it's for society's approval and you're pressured into doing this and you feel that if you don't, you're worthless. The only time I would say it's maybe okay to be pressured into something like exercise is when your health is in incredible danger and you're told that if you don't lose weight, you're gonna die in a year. I can personally attest to this, that this pressure can psychologically and mentally damage someone irreparably. People feel like failures if they can't live up to the standard, if they can't lose that weight that they really feel like they should have lost to look beautiful, if they feel like they just can't get their skin under control. You feel like a complete failure, like you've let everyone down.
Like, broke down because I hate myself so
asking
much.
me out of curiosity because she was like, whoa, like we have the same amount of like that, like, and I was just like, whoa,
Really?
unknowingly I feel like she checked
How to
us
make
out.
this negative
She
real
was
well.
put into perspective.
Especially doing really well.
And not seeing
You do not owe the world to look a certain way. And I understand that a lot of people can maybe feel alone with this. As a psychic told me a year and a half ago, I should speak my truth. So here we are. I don't think anyone has the right to tell you that what you're saying is not worth talking about. How can we end this view myth now that we've acknowledged all together as a class that it is a massive issue in today's society? What do we do about it? I mean, first of all, we're already seeing some real change, which is really exciting. We're getting a lot more representation with models. There are a lot of campaigns for real or raw beauty. We're also embracing different cultures, different looks. I think that's fantastic, but we definitely still have a ways to go. I mean, acknowledgement is the first step, but trying to change your conditioned mindset is also necessary. And I understand that's easier said than done, because even now, even though in my logical brain, I know all of this and I know it's detrimental to place your worth in just your physical appearance, it's not easy. You can't just turn a switch off. Those thoughts will still continually come in because we've been conditioned to think like that. You need to actively, consciously think, that's what my reptilian brain thinks, but I know my worth is not reflected in my weight. Does that make sense? I think it's good to remember that as much as it's pushed, this idea of this like one timeless beauty and the definition of beauty adapts and changes with us and who we are and what we look like. I don't think aging should be scary. It should be something to be excited about because, you know, as time goes on, you're just gonna accumulate more and more knowledge until you have a galaxy brain. Thing is, you can't win. Even if you play the game and become as beautiful as you possibly can, well, people will still criticize you because, first of all, beauty is subjective, and also because it isn't actually about beauty at all in the end. It's about control. Also, if you did play into all of this, you would then be used as a poster boy or girl or person to shame others who don't go to the extent you did and give them something that they feel that they have to live up to. And it's just this continual vicious cycle. So in conclusion, just in general, I think we should stop talking about and commenting on people's bodies so much. Like, for example, the whole Adele situation and her relatively rapid weight loss. I don't think that should be such a huge conversation. She is an incredible singer and has an amazing career and just freed herself of a very terrible man. I think more importance should be placed on that as opposed to her sudden physical appearance change, just personally. I also highly recommend the book just because there's so much in here that I learned, and I think any budding feminist or just someone who struggles with their self-confidence or body image could really gain a lot from reading this book. It's so applicable even if it was written like 30 years ago. I hope you enjoyed this really long rant with Tamron. God, I cannot believe the influx of light right now. Bye.